Here's your TPS work codes quick overview. Every type of work in the TPS system needs to have a work code attached to it so the system knows what rate to use when calculating the charge for the hours you enter in the time entry screen. Is your work chargeable? Non-chargeable? Is it an expense? We need to make sure the time you spend working for a client is charged correctly and that the management team knows what hours were spent in meetings, in training sessions, and other non-chargeable situations. Likewise, if you have any expenses that need to be charged to a client like gas, airfare, accommodation, courier fees, etc., work codes help you enter that info easily. Rather than typing everything in each time by hand and then hoping a manager understands and can sort out each employee's explanation of what they're entering on the time entry screen, you can use work codes. So don't worry, with work codes we've got you covered. On the TPS work code screen, you'll see that it's set up in a similar way to other computer-based filing systems. We have our types here, which would be like the main folder. Then sometimes you have a subtype, and then below that you have the actual work codes. It's important to know that only the actual work codes will pull up in the time entry screen. So when you're choosing the work that you're doing for your clients in the time entry screen, it's these work codes that will show up in there. How you organize this is entirely up to you. Now what you see here in front of you, for the most part I have just the type with the work codes under them. And then when it gets a little bit more complicated, like down here in the tax compliance section, you can see that it's broken down by subtype so that you can separate the corporate tax from the individual tax. So you have all the corporate tax work codes here, individual tax here. When I scroll down a little bit farther, you'll see that these are the non-chargeable work codes here. These are the work codes employees choose for time that they're entering that does not get charged to a client. So it might be meetings, it might be training sessions, it might be vacation or holiday, whatever you're instructed to put in here. And then down here you have your expenses. So everything from mileage to courier, hotel, and other expenses. At the top of the screen you have some small icons. This is where you create your type folder. So if I click here, it will start letting me put in a new type. You can see here the ID, and you can see that my types are set up like 100, 200, 300, 400, and so on, starting with a different number. And then the name, so I have to give my type a name. I'm going to cancel that. Same thing for creating a new subtype or a work code. I'd have to give it an ID and a name. When creating a new subtype or a work code, you just have to make sure that you are highlighting the type that it will fall under when the tree is expanded. So if you wanted to put a subtype folder here that comes under auditing, if you wanted to break this down further, you'd have to make sure that you're highlighting the auditing type folder and then create the subtype. Same thing for work code. If I wanted a new work code to come into here underneath this subtype, I need to click here and then add the work code so that it falls down here underneath that subtype. If I wanted to delete a work code, I just have to make sure that I highlight it and click this little trash bin here. However, you won't be able to delete work codes if there has been time entered using that work code. So basically, if you've ever used this work code for anything in TPS, you're not going to be able to delete it. Another option you have instead of deleting a work code is to merge it with another one. So, for example, let's say that you meant for the audit interview to be part of the audit planning process. You really want to get rid of the audit interview work code. All you do is click on it and drag it into audit planning. And then it tells you are attempting to merge two work codes. The audit interview work code will be deleted and changed to the audit planning work code for all transactions. Continue. If you say yes, then everything that was in audit interview will be changed to audit planning work code. So over here I have the expand and collapse tree. If I wanted to do individual folders, I can just come over here and click them to collapse and expand. But if I wanted to collapse all of these, click the minus sign and expand will expand them all. I can reload the work code, so it's kind of like refresh. If someone else in the office is adding or removing work codes, you can reload to see those changes. And then the binoculars tie in with the search field over here, so it's kind of like the same as hitting enter really, but if I wanted to find my vacation work code real quick, I can type that in, hit the binoculars, and you can see that it brought me straight to vacation and it's highlighted here. Now anytime I click on a type or a subtype or on an actual work code, it gives me the option to view it or edit it over here. if I have the permissions to do that. So just like creating a new work code, I first have the ID field to edit. You can see the IDs are already set up here for me. Everything that's under 100 is auditing. So if I were going to add a new one here, if I wanted to add a new work code, I'd probably put the ID as 105 to continue on since my last one was 104.1. But over here it's letting me know what the ID is in case I wanted to change that, what the name is. Some of these have descriptions if you wanted to explain it a little bit further. I have to choose whether each of these work codes is chargeable, non-chargeable, or if it's an expense. Each work code needs to show which taxes, if any, should be applied to it. Then I need to assign a rate level to each work code. Maybe the easier jobs will be level 1 and the most difficult level 5. This ties in with the employee level, so don't worry. You can decide what your most tenured worker, Michael, charges for a level 3 job compared to what the new employee, Amber, charges. That will be discussed more in the employees video, but here you need to decide what level each of these work codes will be. Audit work might be a level 10 while payroll is 4. It's entirely up to you. And you can see that it continues on and on and on and on. You can do however many rate levels you want. It's all up to you. Just make sure at the end if you want to cancel out of it, you cancel. If you're making changes to this, you need to click apply. And of course you can reach your help screen here. And that about covers it for the work code overview.